Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome back to Star Citizen for day 3 of the IAE, and we've got a working TV this time. Yes, it is a wondrous day. So as you can see, it is Crusader Day. Well, not just Crusader Day, it's also Tumbril Day as well, as the little signpost over there says. So yes, we're here, and we're looking at the morally good guys in Star Citizen terminology. I say Star Citizen terminology because they're not exactly great at being good, but you never know. Slight update towards the frame situation. It seems to depend on the server. When I mentioned in the previous episode that they'd more or less fixed it, they had. A patch did come through, and things have obviously been improved. But obviously, there is. I will say, to update the situation, I had some pretty horrendous frames for like a few seconds, so it's not 100% fixed, but it's a lot better than it used to be. So I'll provide any more updates if there's like a massive amount of changes. But so far, this one seems to be related to more related to the. It's like I had a bit of occasions where it was slightly slideshow, but it wasn't too bad. But anyway, we come up and I still get goosebumps every time I see those ships. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. So, we are in Crusader Day, and as you can see, we've got not as much as the previous day, so that might mean the video is potentially shorter. You know me too well to know that that's a lie. So, yes, we have a whole host of things, including... Wait, hang on a second. No way! Oh! We got new vehicles. And we also have the new Crusader spirits, which are finally now out. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So what we're going to do first of all is, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to do something very different for the first time. Normally I'd go into here, we talk about the new things, and then we fly over there. But what I'm actually going to do first, I'm going to go through the boring stuff first. Because, you know, hype. I like to cause it. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive over towards here, talk about these beautiful ships, head over here, where we get to interact with the new Crusader Spirits lineup, before finally rounding off in this hallway here. So, without further ado, let's get started by not looking in this direction and instead going all the way to the left. I like to keep things fresh. Fucking litter bugs, I swear to God. So, as we begin our journey with Crusader Industries, I guess we should talk a little bit about the history of the company. Therefore, by looking at these wondrous fighters, you get to appreciate just the level of how far the company has come. So, a brief synopsis of Crusader is that they are kind of the quintessential good guys of Star Citizen, in a sense that they are constantly trying to help the people. You may know their craft of, well, you may know of their more famous vessels, such as the MSR, or Mercury Star Runner, or the Hercules C2 variant, as you can see there, which is designed to carry supplies, has also been known to carry humanitarian supplies, all of that lovely jazz. Well, obviously, they're not exactly, strangers to combat. They do have turrets, they do have weapons, and some of their ships, despite being initially designed as a civilian purpose, have been retroactively designed to become weaponized vessels, such as the A2 edition of that, carrying a size 10 Moab. However, Crusader Industries never quite jumped over the fence on dedicated combat platforms until this ship. Now, these two ships have the same particular role, but approach it very differently. These, of course, are the Starfighter series, or Ares, which, depending on your preference in terminology, I actually kind of prefer the term Starfighter, because every time I say the Ares, it always ends with Inferno, because I love that ship too much. So I'm going to say Starfighter, but I really mean Ares, alright? So I say Starfighter, you say? There you go. Right, so let's begin by talking about the Starfighter Ion. So, what role do these vessels play? I'm going to translate their role to fuck anything bigger than a Connie into finite little pieces into debris. These ships are designed to take on capital-sized vessels, Idrises, Javelins. I'm gonna say reclaimers, 890 jumps, as if someone could launch a torpedo on that. You know, basically larger vessels, and how they accomplish this. Well, apart from having a large host of missiles, so in the case of both fighters, they both have 12 size 3 12 size 3 Arrestor 3 missiles. Try saying that fine. You know, I can't even speak. And 8 size 3 Viper 3 missiles as well. So you have a large amount of missiles. You know, 20 missiles. Good amount of missiles. The Ion, however, also has a size 7. Size 7, bearing in mind the largest weapon size we can use in Star Citizen, at least to my knowledge, and as many other prodigies go, is size 10. And those torpedoes we had in the previous episode, the ones that do over, X amount of damage, over 700,000 damage, they're size 9. We're only 2 sizes a little bit below them. That's how much potency these things have. And this is an energy weapon. This is designed to fuck shields over. You may have seen in the little video blurb that was happening beforehand, these vessels are designed to make sure that anything larger than a Connie is going to have a bad day. And it does that role beautifully. It looks amazing. I owned one for a time. Oh, God, every time I look at this ship, I think, oh, you know what, I might as well just get that ship again. Just because, why not? But no, so this particular vessel is the energy version, which basically means I am designed to bugger over your shields, giving my brother, the slightly psychotic one, that twitches and has maybe got schizophrenia. Yeah, that one. This one is the Ares Inferno. What's the difference with this one? Well, it's got a size 7 Gatling gun. Like, when this ship was announced, and they mentioned the scale of which the weapons that you'll be utilizing, they basically, the entire Star Citizen community says, we have a bird. And you may recall, you may have remembered, I talked about the famous AD5B series of guns, and how they're really, really fucking good, and they're really, really, really great, because they have a large amount of ammunition, and they do a shitload of damage. That's the size 7 version of that gun. That's what I'm talking about. This thing will literally say fuck you and everything in your ship. So to compare the damage stats, the SF7E, which again designed to fuck over shields, does about 2.6k damage. So quite a reasonable amount of damage. The SF7B does 4.7k damage. Now, that is sustained DPS, and if you're wondering why I'm talking about these particular stats, I am, of course, referring to the Urquell website. I did mention that in the previous episode, so I won't go into long details here, but the link is down below in the description, should you wish to have a look yourselves. All of these stats I talk about is, of course, going to be the stock values of the ship. So this vessel is designed to bugger over large amounts of vessels with its Dakka, and I love it. And I've actually used this thing in combat. I can tell you straight off, it's not a dogfighter. And it's not meant to be a dogfighter, however much I wish it was. The other thing I'm not a huge fan of, though to be honest with you, looking back on it now, partly I think it's designed as an actual balancing perspective, is you cannot spool the gun up. Like, yeah, so like when it comes to these particular ships, this particular ship in general is beautiful, and this weapon on the ship is also fucking beautiful. But the thing is, you can't spool the gun up, which is a shame. But again, it doesn't take that many shots before the main weapon is actually, full in motion, put it that way. And it does do a shitload of damage. But if you do find yourself in combat with anything smaller than, say, a Cutlass Black, you're going to be struggling to do any relevant sort of damage. So avoid big-scale contact when you can, or at least avoid small-scale ships when you can. Big-style contact, like if you're seeing big ships flying around, oh no, you can have a fun time. But otherwise, yeah, she's not perfect. But as heavy fighter specialized vessels go, this vessel does the job, and it does it well. And oh, it looks so wonderful doing it. So, we enter into... So, as we leave the beautiful fighters behind, we are greeted with the presence of a ship which I think, I don't know if it's still the champion of Crusader Industries. Like, to be brutal, if I think Crusader, I think Hercules. But at the same time, this ship does captivate the imaginations of many players out there, and when it was being released, it was the darling child of many players out there, as people call this the Millennium Falcon of Star Citizen. Why is that, you may ask? Well, the Mercury Star Runner has a variety of roles available to the player or to those who may decide to purchase this vessel. First of all, it acts as a pretty okay-ish daily. You can drive vehicles into it, so you can go onto planets with your friends and do a bit of exploring. You have a large amount of space to work with. What's really cool is you have a little elevator system in here, and you also have the ability to climb that, which is pretty dope. One of the cool things I like about this ship, in terms of historical, also this ship is quite famous, and one of the things why I quite like it is because this was one of the first ships in Crusader Industries to be actually revealed and made available to the Star Citizen community. And this particular ship was the first ship of its kind to implement adjustable lights. Initially, it was just, small interactable options. Can you turn the lights on? Can you turn the lights off? But prior to that, we didn't have that as an option. And as a result, it meant that players had far more control over their particular vessels. And also, what's really neat is you can actually lock the section of the ship you want. So, for example, you could set it so that in order to open and close the vessel, you actually had to set the thing up manually, or you could set it so that you could have the doors locked in case you had any tricksy people getting inside your ship, causing some problems, which is pretty awesome as well. In terms of like habitation and whatnot, it's kind of similar to the Carrack in the sense that there's you've got a few amenities. It's not really perfect, but it also doesn't, it's not complete shit. Crusader Industries strikes the fine balance between opulence and quality. Opulence and utility, meaning that while it's not going to be super comfortable, it's going to be comfortable enough. And I like that. I also like that. I also love... Where is it? There it is. Lawmaker's Guide. I always make a note to mention this at least once per IAE, but what I love is how they've just snuck that in there. And basically, for anyone who doesn't know, this actually was a YouTube series run by CIG describing all of the different sectors in space, which, hopefully, in the near future, we'll be seeing. Also, if I'm not mistaken, if I carry this, I put this... If I put this here, does this do anything? Or is that not even a chess piece? That's not even a chess piece. Well, so one of the cool things, if we head over to the bridge... There we go. So as you can see, each of these wonderful areas, and you can also open up these particular little cubby holes, and it just, again, this was like the first of its kind to really show interaction as a ship. Rather than before, which was all literally you get into the ship, you walk around the ship, and then you get into the cockpit. There was so much more interactivity. You could look into your components. You could have a look into your other sort of like in the storage bay. You also had interactable cockpit as well, which was something that was like a major big thing. So, for example, I could close the cargo bay here, and the cargo bay would close down. Though I think because we're in the stock, the showroom edition, there's probably certain permissions it doesn't have available to. But you have all of these wonderful interactable features, which makes the vessel so much more enjoyable. In terms of a view as well, it's actually pretty decent as well. Like, as ships go, it's a pretty good ship. And if you're a fan, if you've got a few friends of yours who wants to do like small missions or small kind of like ops or anything, this isn't a bad choice. You also have a decent array of defenses as well. In terms of defenses, you are somewhat limited in the sense you have, for the pilot, you've got 2 size 3 Panther repeaters and 2 turrets utilizing the same 2 Panther repeaters on them. So your armaments at stock level aren't exactly great. But the thing is, this ship isn't designed for combat. If you haven't already noticed, there's a number of servers here. And then if we go to this room, we actually go into the scanning room. And eventually, what's going to happen here is you're going to be able to track down data, which, to be fair, we're actually seeing a lot of information now, which I'm personally looking forward to. Oh, it's working. Oh my god, it's working. So, that's really fucking cool. I ain't gonna lie. Wait, so if I hit the retract option, what does that do? Guess we're not gonna find out. Or deploy. Ah, okay. So, normally what you can do in here is if you see that circular dish with a number 3 on it, if you see that circular dish in other editions of the thing, well, if on the non-showroom edition, that satellite dish opens up and deploys, giving you the ability to intercept signals. And obviously, when it comes to in the future, once the features and functionality become more of a workable feature, you'll be able to transmit and send data. Now, the reason why I'm excited about that is because that's been talked about quite a lot recently. In fact, we're already starting to see it because there's a mission type parameter. Oh, yes. There's a mission type parameter which allows us to actually have physical data to transmit. So, it's coming very soon. And as you may have just seen a little teaser there, another reason why people call this a Millennium Falcon is because you can hide in the cover of the ship, which is pretty hilarious. You actually have multiple avenues to get through. You have one through this little cubby hole here, which looks a bit like a dedicated storage depot. But obviously, if you explore through the undercroft, you'll be able to access whole sections of your ship. And the theory is you can actually sneak stuff through and be able to either hide from people if you don't want to be found, or you... that's actually quite far in depth in here, isn't it? It's actually quite far in. Is there like a thing up here? No. Oh, wow. Yeah, so you could basically be like chilling here, waiting for like a few hours, and then when you're sure that no one else is, if you're sure that people aren't going to be... people aren't here, you can be like, right, I'm going to sneak into the ship, or I'm going to sneak around the ship, and I'm going to get myself out of dodge. So, there we go. Freedom from that point. So, yeah, this particular ship is teeming with... oh, okay. That's an interesting... Actually kind of interesting when you see all this different struts and everything, how it all works. That's actually pretty cool. Anyway... So, as you can see, the ship is teeming with options and possibilities and future potential. And obviously, as we go into the Pyro sector, this ship, alongside the Carrack and alongside the Corsair and all sorts of other expedition ships, this ship could be the next sort of vessel to conquer that sector, along with the small amounts of multi-crew that's available. But either way, looks damn good, and... as the first Crusader-style ship to be entered into the fray, this was the ship that kind of opened my eyes to just how incredible and gorgeous Crusader ships became. And I sort of almost haven't looked back since. Sort of. There are other vessels that have started to take my attention, but, we'll get to those later on. So, as we enter into the second room, we are... greeted with the Crusader Spirit C1 and A1. Now, personally, I'm actually quite excited for this because I've not seen the C1 before. That running animation. So, without further ado, little tease there, without further ado, here we fucking go! Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean, I've seen the A1 Spirit. When the patch came out, when this thing came out, oh, you bet your fucking ass I was playing this game. But, oh, wow. Like, it sounds fake, but it's not. Trust me. Like, oh, that's so cool. Dude, I love the livery. The bog standard livery looks so swish. And I was going to say, one of the things I was going to highlight as well when talking about this is when you see how Crusader ships have started, and the thing that I kind of like to harken on when it comes to Star Citizen is the evolution of ship designs. Like, ship designs from 2012, 2013, that kind of era, we kind of see the rounded nature, the sort of unique, what we thought was advanced for the time, now, of course, is quite an old design template, whereas this is the latest thing to come out. This ship, right now, is the latest thing to come out of CIG, and in the case of Crusader as well, it's kind of the latest thing as well. Don't know if in terms of lore, but I always kind of reveal it as a sort of gameplay logic here. And this ship looks fantastic. It is, of course, the civilian edition of the Crusader market, so obviously it's designed to be as obvious as possible that I am not a combat vessel, it says. However, I am defending myself at least, because let's face it, you're not going to go into a zone without any kind of weapons, now are you? Now, the interesting thing to note is that the armament of the C1 and the A1 is very similar. To a point. So the C1 and the A1 have 2 turrets on the nose of 2 size 3 M5As. And unfortunately, they're not gimbaled, so you've only got 2 M5As. You also have somewhere, oh yes, on the top, an additional 2 M5As. So, yeah, and in terms of like pilot weaponry, you do have quite a lot of very similar things. The difference, of course, is that the A1 gets an additional remote turret of 2 M4A1s, which is a size smaller, the size being the size 2. In other weapons, you both get... so I see. So the A1 gets a few more missiles. So the A1 gets... So the C1 gets 4 size 3 Arrester 3 missiles, whereas the A1 gets 4 size 3 missiles, and then I think those are, yes, and of course the A1 gets its bomber load, but we'll get to that in a minute. So this ship is a ship that I honestly hope will become a kind of daily flyer, as well as the ship to beat the cursed Cutlass Black. The reason why I say this is because the Cutlass Black tends to answer a lot of things, and that's a tractor beam. That's a fucking tractor beam. It's in. It's fucking in. And I'm excited. Oh. It's a tractor beam. So, So these are the components. Okay, that's really cool. Right. Okay. This is the cargo bay. It's a pretty decent cargo bay size. I'm going to need to, look into the... Right, so the cargo capacity, you're looking... Okay, so body... Mass, SCU, it's size, that's the combat one, fuck. So maximum speed, cargo, it doesn't tell me what cargo, it doesn't tell me what cargo supply it has, but it does have a pretty decent array of stuff. I'm having to alt-tab to the core website to see if there's any specific things, but I don't think it actually harkens on its SCU carrying capacity. So I'm probably going to have to put some text, which I'm going to put, poink! I'm going to put some text in the description, in the screen, to show how much SCU's worth of cargo it can carry. If I am, if it's the same amount, if not more, than the Cutlass Black, I might hope for a... I'm hopeful. I'm honestly hopeful that it's more than the Cutlass Black or equal to, because this vessel looks so good. And we go now into the other component bays, which looks to be a computer thing. That's a potential future. Oh, wow. So it's very, very closed in, but very, very, very nice looking. I like that. So this ship is obviously designed as a sort of daily flyer. It's designed for cargo bay. It's sort of an entrance into cargo transportation, and it does look really nice as well. And you can also see an evolution of the design that we saw in previous things. So you can see here we've got the sort of different light systems in tow. So, for example, you can put the warning lights in. So if you're having a shower, it's like, warning, will be mentally scarred if you enter here. We also have the normal lighting, as well as locking the door down or locking the pads down, which is really quite cool. So if you're trapped in here and you're thinking, you know what, I need to hide in here because some bandits are trying to enter into my my little compartment, I can do so, and it's brilliant. And also, toilet. Toilet. That's pretty cool. And you have a little preparing space over here, and a little fridge, and a little cooking area, which is nice. Bearing in mind this is going to be living on the front lines there. Weapon rack, suit room. usual array. You also have this. What is this? Ah, that's the cargo storage. Very nice. Oh yeah, this is the giant storage weapon there. Duh. That's very nice. As you can see, one of the things I like about Crusader Industries is it's not all about the flash, but it's not all about the utility either. And I quite like that as a ship, you know, in terms of ship flying. And oh, does she look nice? Oh, she look nice. Like, she look very, very, very nice. I like this ship. It is beautiful and oh, I think I have a screenshot. That is the screeny. That feels like a screeny. That feels like a screeny, but we'll see. So, yeah, this ship, she looks wondrous, and also you can see a number of options down here. The gimbal, the flight mode, all of these things will be interactable, and it'll be basically akin to like a DCS simulator, only not as boring and tedious, and you spend forever having to learn a particular aircraft. Because it works. It's beautiful. I love it. Like, no shade onto that one, but there is a downside to that game. I'm probably going to piss off so many fans of that thing now. Oh, well. I've made my bed, I'll lay in it. So going from... And, of course, let's not forget one rather important thing here. Tractor beams. Now, for a very long time, Star Citizen hasn't had any real sense of tractor beams, with the exception of the multi-tool. Now, however, different story. And it also looks like, from the way that that particular vessel is, from the way that that particular thing is set up, it almost looks like it's akin to the same design from the Ares, not Ares, the Scorpius, or the X-Wing, with its turret display, because that looks like it retracts and goes forwards and backwards, which, if that's the case, holy fucking shit. That's really cool. And bearing in mind, this is also going to be something that unfortunately, this is a feature on the Cutlass Black, so it might have that chance, but this thing could have the upper hand because you might be able to use a tractor beam forwards as well as backwards. And you look at those thrusters. Ooh, lovely. So, what is the difference? What makes the A1 series of ships, in my opinion, more worth it for me than it does the cargo bay? Though, to be honest with you, as a cargo ships go, that looks bloody fantastic. Well, I'll tell you. Apart from the fact that you don't get a tractor beam, but instead you get two rear-facing turrets at the back, which is nice, you also get 10 size 5 size 5 bombs, known as, let me get the names for them, storm bursts. You get 10 of them, 5 on each side, and they pack a punch. I've used them. It's terrifying. We even have a little display. We even have a little display tablet over here. That's really cool. Very, very cool. But yes, so these big-ass bombs. Ooh. These weapons are very, very potent. They're very, very nice, and I look very much forward to utilizing them in combat. Apart from that, same sort of display as before. Obviously, it's more militarily focused, so the co-pilot can actually have access to some really nice weapons. Same display as same view distance as the pilot as well. So the main sort of thrust is that, obviously, you don't have a cargo bay. There isn't really a cargo bay to speak of. I think... maybe this? I don't think it is, though. No, I don't think there is. I think it's literally, you go from here, and you got your ship with all your Dakar on it. And for me, that's fine. I've got other ships that will be my cargo vessel. But, ooh, this ship looks nice with the bombs of them. But yes, this ship looks absolutely fantastic. As does, of course, the Crusader A1 edition, or C1 edition as well. It is, again, it's one of the things of showcasing the latest in development for Crusader Industries, as well as Star Citizen when it comes to their ship designs. It looks and is beautiful. And, I'm looking forward to seeing the kind of future for this ship, because obviously going into Pyro, it's going to be lawless, there's going to be bandit bases and everything, and I know I'm going to be using this thing to bugger them up royally. So we enter into the main hall to look at the big boys of Crusader Industries, and in my opinion, I feel that this is the ship that represents what Crusader is all about in terms of transportation. Swear to God, this game is trying to contradict me every time. So this is, of course, the Crusader Industries A C2 Hercules. Now, what makes this ship rather intriguing is that for a very long time, I would say not the longest amount of time, not as long as the Caterpillar, but long enough. And to a degree, it's still the largest internal cargo bay vessel. But this ship used to be the largest internal cargo bay in Star Citizen, with a whopping 696 SCUs worth of cargo. You could have a crap ton of... Hang on, is there like a little wrong thing? Oh, I'm being blocked. There's invisible ghosts. But yes, so a whopping 696 SCUs worth of cargo. As you can see here, it is fucking huge. And not only can you get in from the front, but you can also get in from the back, making transportation of vehicles, supplies, people, all sorts. You could get so much. It's ridiculous. And it is very easy to maneuver within the vessel itself. I've actually been in one of these things when it's been nearly full, and it's quite a sight to behold, to say the least. There's two ways you can get into the ship. First of all, you can take the cargo bays on either side. You can also get in the elevator, which will come down from the bottom. When you're in the ship, you can either take the elevator to head back up to the top, or the method I prefer to use, only because I'm not a huge fan of lifts, because sometimes they don't work or there's some issues, and I've also got PTSD from the amount of elevators that have murdered me in this game. I tend to use the ladder here, which is an option. Going into this particular vessel, they've actually got a very large storage container as well, which if you open up this little button here, this little doodad opens up, and you can access the personal storage on this vessel, which I'm not sure at the moment, but I'm thinking I'm hoping in the future you'll be able to have your own personal compartment. So let's say, for example, we're operating on this particular vessel, and I'm like, oh, I've got some really nice bits of gear, but I don't really want to share it with my friends because I'm like that. Or I think, oh, I need to jump my gear off, and I need to remember what my gear is, so I'm going to pop my gear into this little slot, and then I'll know it's my gear in there. That sounds a little bit more wholesome, doesn't it? But either way, you'll be able to access your own personal inventory whilst being able to, obviously, whilst also being able to access other inventory, or you keep it secret, hidden. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, so this is the civilian version here with its very strange-looking remote. And hitbox, because of course you would. Sadly, we can't open and access this bounty of food and supplies, but it looks wonderful. And we've got some napkins, some living accommodations, rather a large host of very nice and very pleasant looking living accommodations. We open up this one now, and if we hop across to the other side, there's the really nice looking engines and the light that never ceases to blind me. And then we have the habitation decks, which is more or less the same thing as an MSR. Oh, that's adorable. I want one. Oh, I want one. I want one. I want one. I want one. An Ursa plushie. Oh, it's so adorable. Oh, I want one. Oh, how long has that been there? Because I don't recall seeing it in the past. I want one now. That's going to be so irritating if they don't make that. Son of a bitch. Anyway, let's proceed further along. So, going into the main sort of cabin area, you can access the different components, which is fantastic. Accessing the very large shield generators. And then, of course, we have our own little defensive armory, because even though we are a civilian vessel, we can be going into the hot combat zone. And as you can see here, we have a whole host of different... We have a very nice looking cockpit. This vessel is very big. It's probably one of the... Weirdly enough, though, even though despite its size, yes, it is a very big craft, but it actually is fairly controllable as well. It's not easy to control. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it is very controllable, and it does... You can actually land it fairly easily once you get used to it. And once that's done, oh, it's brilliant. In terms of armament, as a civilian craft goes, it's not really... It's definitely not... It's not really... obviously, it's not really meant for combat, so obviously there's going to be a slight shortage of weapons. One particular note, which actually took me by surprise, is you don't have access to missiles on this vessel. On this particular variant, you are completely reliant on your turrets, which, once I get off this thing, I'll be able to highlight that to you. Get off this ship, there you go. My heart rate is very high. Yes, I know. I'm on, I'm on Crusader. I'm having a heart attack. No, so in terms of weaponry, you only have a couple of defensive weapons. Your first main defensive weapon is two size 4 M6As, which are on a gimbal, so you can turn those into size 5 laser cannons, and you also have a remote control turret which has M6A two times M6A size 4 cannons, as well as one turret remote in the rear as well. So not a lot of defensibility, but again, you're not really doing much combat because, well, this is a transport ship. Of course you won't be doing much combat. But yeah, this ship was quite a popular one for a long time because obviously... Well, I need to probably go for the back one there. But no, so this particular ship is probably one of the big sort of transport vessel goals, if you will, because this particular ship, there's a lot you can get into it. I mean, also, it was the penultimate transport ship. Until the Hull C came along, this was the largest cargo-bearing vessel in the game, and while unfortunately its reign did not last as long as the Caterpillars in terms of sheer amount of SCU's worth of storage, I will say that it is still the largest internal cargo bay vessel in the game thus far, until such time as either the Kraken or, well, more likely the Banu Merchantman or some other vessel begins to take its prize. So you've still got some years ahead of you, girl. Don't worry about that. Oh yeah, there's the turret in the distance there, so you can see where the defensive turret is for that one. Now, in comparison, the A2 is a little different. Why, you may ask? Well, apart from the fact that you have more turrets to defend yourself with, I mean, for fuck's sake, we can see these giant ones over here. These are the Omniski. These are either their M6As, though it kind of feels like these are the M6As. But they may also be the Omniskis as well. You've got a lot more turret for your bang. And to be fair, the reason for this is because this particular variant of the ship isn't really designed as a transport ship. It's designed as a bomber. A bomber which has size 10? I want to say size 10. Yes. Size 10 bombs. 4 of them, to be exact. 4 size 10 bombs on this thing. These are known as Moabs. Or mobs, in the case of Copyright, but they're effectively Moabs. And they will fuck over a large portion of an area. I owned this vessel for a time, and I got to use them once. Not much was left of the target when I did. And I honestly cannot wait before the destruction physics go into overhaul. Because can you imagine doing like a mission where you have to try and knock out a bunker? And if you're having to deal with a heavy amount of anti-air or you've got a massive defensive barricade, it's like, we can just nuke it. And I can. But even still, the large amounts of damage that these bombs will deliver, which if we're looking at the stats alone, it's 1.1 million. Ah! And a 250 radius explosion. That's a lot of boom. You still have a reasonable amount of cargo space. In fact, you have up to, it says on the stats page, 216 SCU's worth of cargo. So you can still drop a tank into the fray, because I actually have done that. We've driven back a tank, or the Nova basically, and we've rolled it back over to here, or we put a ballista around here, we put more vehicles back here, or cargo. You can still transport a whole lot of cargo, which is really, really cool. Now, the main difference when it comes to the internals, we won't go too far into this because we've already been talking a fair amount about these vessels, is unlike the civilian edition... No, oh, for God's sake. Fucking animations! No, I want to get out! Come on, let me leave! Yes! Oh, freedom. So unlike, for example, the previous edition, there's also additional positions for a turret, if I'm not mistaken, unless that's specifically the M2. No, yeah, there it is. So you have an additional chair specifically to help man the turrets. So you do need multi-crew for this vessel, unfortunately, which kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. The other thing you can do as well is you do get an armory, which if we go over to here, we have access to the turrets as well, which is nice. So you get access to the remote turrets, which look absolutely brilliant, by the way. And then we get the armory, which I love. Now, it's not... So in comparison to, for example, the M2 series, which is basically a troop transport variant, the turret... You don't have the turret section, per se, but you instead have a massive array of troop transportation capacity. And in the interest of keeping the pacing, I'll just quickly nip down here. Oh, there we go. As you can see, like, the interest of keeping pacing, we're probably gonna... Now, let's be... No, you know what? Let's be due diligent. Let's be due diligent on this one. So, let's have a quick little gander over to there. I was gonna say no, but I think on this occasion we will go into the main extreme. So, the Crusader A1 is all about the Dakar. The Crusader C1 is all about the transport. So, what exactly is the Crusader M1? Well, as you can see, it doesn't have nearly the same amount of transport of turrets or defensive capabilities, and it doesn't have the larger amount of SCU's worth of cargo. I believe it's around the 500 region. To quickly hop over to the webpage, M2 additional. That one has... the M2 Starlifter. Yes, I was right. 522 to be exact. So not as much as the C1, as a C2, but not as small as the A2. So what exactly is the purpose of this ship? Well, the main purpose of this ship is to act as a dedicated troop transport. So if we go into here, we have auxiliary crew. And as you can see, these vessels then give you a massive amount of troops to transport and to get out of Dodge. And then, of course, you have the armory, which they can arm themselves and be prepared for all of the kind of fighting that you could be expecting of them. A lot of potential for each of these variants, though to be brutal, I would say the versions that are probably going to be seen and more utilized, in my opinion, are probably going to be the C1 because C2 because obviously cargo transportation, and A2 because the militarized version of the vessel not only has the ability to drop very significantly large boom boom, but also the ability to have multiple turrets and stand against a lot of fighting. Whereas the only real difference between in terms of defense is these turrets are manned by a remote controlled from the cockpit. That's it. So yeah, I would say the M2 is slightly behind the curve when it comes to defensive in terms of like viability when in comparison to the A2 and the C2. So, as we approach the center stage, we are greeted by a new vehicle, and a new vehicle variant, which is pretty cool. But before we look at the weird-looking vehicles in the middle, let's look at the classic vehicle in the front. This is, of course, the Nova Tonk, which, if any of you are... have dedicated... Well, if any of you may recall, that was the meme that came out when this vehicle was released as the first ground combat vehicle. The designer was French, and his pronunciation of the term meant that it was kind of memed almost immediately, and I feel sorry for the Nova Tonk because now everyone calls it by a silly name rather than a serious one. But this vessel... Well, this vehicle is not to be smirked at. This thing does have the capacity to do quite a lot of damage, and in more recent updates, I think we're finally starting to see and appreciate that in the form of the... Oh, that's cool. Oh, it's the... I thought it was some specific name or like wording, but it turns out it's just cropped text. But no. So the main sort of allure of this particular vehicle is that it is it's Star Citizen's first dedicated ground combat vehicle in the form of a tank. Well, basically, it's Star Citizen's first tank. It has a size 5 Slayer, which does about 6.4k damage, 40 rounds ammunition. It also has a Ignite it has a few missile launchers, which if you ever look around the top right-hand side, probably easier to see from the back. Yeah, there you go. So you have some missile launchers as well. We have 12 Ignite... 24, fucking hell, 24 size 2 Ignite missiles, which I have no idea how the fuck they got those in there, but hey-ho. And we have also got a size 2 Badger repeater, which is the commander-mounted gun on the top, which is dope as all hell. One of the cool things about this particular vessel is it's quite cramped, but it's also quite effective. You've got your driver and your commander, who can do quite a lot of things. You've also got your gunner, which... depending on how you go, you could actually find yourself not really needing a gunner per se, because apart from the fact that you can access the missile launchers from the gunner seat, you can also access the turret from the driver's seat, which if we hop into the driver's seat, so you have a whole host of things. Oh, and the turret is already moving. Yeah, I was kind of figuring that. But if we go to this little doohickey over here on the right, you can adjust the camera, and you can actually move the turret from within the tank itself, meaning that it makes it a lot easier for you to roll around and go do combat, or not, depending on your preference in that. Obviously, you assuming the role of both driver and gunner may be difficult. I mean, bearing in mind a lot of us play Battlefield, so some of you may find this more of a natural position to be in, whereas obviously... some of you may not. One of the other cool things, of course, is how the commander gets access to... well, the other cool thing, of course, is that once you have a gunner, you obviously... one of you can be aiming and shooting, the other could be driving. So, depending on your preference in crew. And if we hop over to the other side, we can enter into... I mean, it's the passenger seat, but it's the commander, really. So, if we have a little look at this doohickey, there should be a button on the side. There it is, remote turret. And we have full 360 degree traverse on these Panther repeaters, and they are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, definitely fulfills the role. Unfortunately, we've yet to see any real we've yet to see any real circumstances in which a Nova tonk was utilized in combat to deal with a situation in the PU. But hopefully in the near future, or I say in the near future, but hopefully in the future, when we go into Pyro, we'll be starting to see some missions that may require us to bring ground Vics to the location, such as a heavily defended settlement which has lots of AA but no ground defenses. Or maybe it does have ground defenses, but you just don't care, you brought a tonk. So, in overall, this vehicle I've seen in combat, I like it. I've seen it in like... we did some trial runs with it, and we sort of did about mucking around. It has a tendency to roll a bit, but then again, this was before a few changes, so I think as the development of the ground vehicles go by, you will start to see a increased weight to the vehicle, which will hopefully reduce its top heaviness. But as combat vehicles go, it looks wondrous, and I very much look forward to seeing what this thing can do in the future. Now, let's have a look at you. What are you? Now, hello. So this is the Tumbril Storm. What is this thing supposed to be? Originally released in the Second Tavaran War, single operator, many tanks to blitz battlefields, take out artillery, reimagined from the ground up and faster. Force of nature, scrounging. So is this like some sort of reconnaissance vehicle? It looks like a harassment vehicle. Though to be fair, one of the a friend of mine who plays the Command and Conquer series was saying how similar this tank looks to a mammoth tank from the Command and Conquer, like Tiberian Wars and everything else like that. Oh, you can close this down, I think, because that's the battery. So clearly, that's not meant to be like that. Yeah, that looks to be. All right, let me have a look. See, can I possibly close this thing? Oh, there it is. I think there's the button. Okay, so I can't press it, but it's definitely there. Okay. Is there a way you can open this rear compartment? Alright, looks intriguing. And there looks to be a data core thing here, which could be another thing that would be quite hilarious. Anyway, let's have... looks pretty menacing. I'm guessing this is where I'd get in, right? So do I walk into it, or do I walk around it? I'd like to get into the ship. Oh, hello. There we go. Enter driver's seat. There we go. So, the seat comes down. I hop in, and I get taken... Oh. That closes down. Okay. Then I activate the power. Oh. That's so cool. That's really fucking cool. Oh, dude. This is incredible. So, comm test. Combat thing here. This is a really nice looking vehicle. Ooh, a self-destruct button. No. Oh, there's a radar as well. Nice. So we could use the radar to search as well. Do we have the ability to switch cameras, though? Because I feel like there's a camera button somewhere, which I'm not aware of. There it is. Remote turret. So we have a fully 360-degree traversal, which looks very nice. I don't know what this... this weapon is apparently called a Rain 3. It's got 75 round... I think it's a ballistic. I don't really know, to be honest with you. It's the first time I've ever seen this. And on Hercule, it just shows what the Rain 3 is, which is kind of interesting. So, yeah, this looks like a light combat Vic. Maybe it's, judging from the ammunition capacity, it might be a ballistic, but I cannot 100% say. But it does look very intriguing. And obviously, this could potentially be already released into the Arena Commander mode, which, if you may recall, the Arena Commander mode is a player that you can actually hop into the game immediately and have a little bit of a crack at that. So, what exactly... I mean, obviously, it's the AA edition, so you replace the... Okay, so I want to say size 4 missiles are in this thing. I want to say size 4. So effectively, it's the same thing, only you've got missiles. So if we actually have a look-see at the website, select vehicle, Storm AA. What do you have? You have... you have a lot. So we've got 64, if we're going by the stats presented here, because we've got 2 missile racks of 64 size 1 Marksman 1 missiles, followed by 16 size 2 Ignites. I'm going to hop into this thing just to see if this is in fact true, because this seems like quite a lot of missiles for what doesn't look like much. I mean, obviously it's an AA vessel, so it would be kind of silly if you didn't have all of those things, but at the same time... Yep. Oh, no, you do. Oh, and you have multiple fucking missiles set up. Oh, wow. Yeah, you do. you very much do. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah. So this vessel, very much designed to say... And what's worse is you've got the ability to use the multi-option thing... multi-shot option. Deploy weapon rack. Is there something that... Oh, nice! There's the weapon rack. So obviously you can deploy the weapon rack, and then you can retract the weapon rack, so you can... Yes, that makes sense. That is really cool. So, there you go. So the Tumbril Storm AA and the Tumbril Storm Normal Edition. I don't know if I can't lie, it does look pretty good. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite ground combat Vic. I'm not a huge fan of the paint colors, but in terms of its aesthetics, it does look pretty fucking swole. Not gonna lie. And I even think I've got a screeny potential. Let's have a little look-see, shall we? Ooh, I know I've already done a sort of... Oh, that's shot. That's a shot and a half. I think I've already got my screeny. So... all in all, I'd say it looks pretty cool, and I am very curious to see how it would fare in main form of combat, but you never know, this may be something we'll be seeing a lot more of going into the future, because it's not very big. In comparison to the Nova, you could probably fit like maybe... I don't think you can fit 2 to every 1 Nova, but you could probably fit a fair amount of these in comparison, and it'll be a lot less difficult to traverse. Yeah, no, definitely. So, we enter into the ground floor, or the basement floor, and we are privy to some of the interesting and older designs of the Tumbril series. So, long before we had armoured vehicles and tanks, we had fast cars. This is the Tumbril Nova, and I have a little bit of a personal history with this vehicle, as this was one of the first few vehicles that I sort of got to introduced me to Star Citizen. This is basically it's a two-seater, maybe a three-seater if you're lucky enough to hold on the back here. But no, this is basically a two-seater ground Vic from Tumbril, and this was probably one of the more famous vehicles to come out of the Tumbril collective on that one. And I think now that they're sort of slowly beginning to... I think the name and the image is slowly beginning to fade, and it's starting to go more and more towards the other vessels. But the Tumbril series is still... Sorry, the Cyclone series is quite diverse in its roles. You can have, for example, the Cyclone RN, which is basically a sort of scouting/radar variant. You can have the Cyclone RC, which is the racing variant, which if you've ever seen the Daymar Rally, you'll no doubt have seen these versions, because this particular version has a booster rocket on the back, which only recently has been able, I'd say within the last year, has been reactivated. It used to be quite a lot of years where this vessel, or this Ground Vic, didn't have that. Well, now it does, and it can do quite a nice amount of things with it. Obviously, we have the bog standard edition of the Cyclone, but then we have the more militarized editions of the Cyclone. The Cyclone TR, which I kind of refer it as the Warthog, because it kind of looks and acts like the Warthog. You've got, obviously, driver and a passenger, and then you've got a gunner. You've got a size 1 Mantis or Yellow Jacket repeater. So not a huge amount of damage that this Vic can do. But if you're running into a small ground op mission where you need some level of fire support but nothing too serious, you can get that. You also have, of course, the AA variant of the Cyclone, similar to the Storm. Only this time, this one has about a reasonable level of missiles. So you've got a 2 size 2 Dominators and what's known as a Tromag Burst Generator, which is an EMP? Might be an EMP, I don't know. I mean, I did hear rumors that this vehicle did have an EMP, but I don't know if it works. But there you go. It does, in fact, have the capacity to do something pretty freaking heinous if you're looking into that sort of stuff. But if you are looking more for actual firepower, then I need only point you in the direction of the MT, which, if my game would like to respond, that would be even better. This vehicle, when it first was announced and then released, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was an April Fool's thing. No, they were being serious. This is what I call the Warthog on steroids. We've removed the size 1 trinket of a weapon and replaced it with another size 1 but much more powerful 9 series longsword autocannon with 4 size 2 Dominator missiles on a rotating turret. Oh, and you could fire these unguided, by the way. Remind me, what was your purpose again? I'm like, it's literally, you take out one of these things, and it's like, you might as well replace that with something else. And there you go. So, yeah, this thing is a little bit ridiculous, and I kind of like it in that respect. Again, Warthog on steroids. But it just, as a ground vehicle go, it just feels like it's over the top, but it's nothing to smirk at. It is something that I honestly would love to take into combat one day, because it just looks so stupid, but it also looks like a fucking well-good ride. So, yeah, the Cyclone series, a mishmash of frankly confusing and outright dangerous vehicles merged over towards amazing racers, which spend lots of days causing people to have fun times. But, dear God, what a fucking difference between the two. So, sadly, once again, we reach the holodecks, and sadly, once again, we reach the part where I only have to look at a holodeck and hope that one day, the vehicle that I see in there will come out. But optimism, it'll come out soon, I'm sure. Ooh. This is new, or I've not seen it before. What is this? Oh, no, I've seen this before. This is the Genesis Starliner. Not seen a grey box of it, though. Or at least, I haven't in this level of detail. This is very, very nice. So, the Genesis Starliner is basically a sort of passenger airline service that Crusader Industries run, and their ships do look nice. It's completely unarmed, for obvious reasons, and it looks beautiful. It looks so sleek. It looks so wonderful. And I'm sure once the transporting people job becomes an actual thing, we're going to see lots of these things flying around Stanton, probably not Pyro, maybe most likely around Terra, and definitely towards Sol. And it looks gorgeous. I do love the design schematics. I love the struts in between the wings. I love how the wings sort of flare out. I also love how it also sort of all sleek and lovely. It looks very, very nice. Very, very nice. And what is the other version? Oh, yes! Yes, these things. So you may of course recall seeing these back in Invictus launch week. These are, of course, the Tumbril... What was it? Storm Rangers? Yeah. So, the Tumbril Rangers are, in fact, bikes. And as you can see, the details looking pretty good. We can tell that they've got the 9 series... we've now got the 9 series autocannons on them. We've got what looks to be a pretty decent armament and array. It looks very, very detailed. But for many years, I actually had these in my inventory, and they never came out. And I'm not going to lie, lost the faith with these ones. And also, kind of found myself in a position where I was thinking to myself, I'm not really going to be a ground vehicle kind of person at this moment. And I still kind of maintain that belief to this day. Like, I'm not going to be using ground vehicles much in my playthroughs of Star Citizen, so it's kind of pointless me having ground vehicles, with the exception of course, the mining ground vehicles. But in terms of like combat or traversal, at this moment in time, my gameplay as well as my enjoyment of Star Citizen means that I'm not really going to need them. So I ended up upgrading them and moving on to other pastures, which is fair enough in that respect. So, there we go. The day is done, and we are... It's actually kind of cool how their reflections works on that, but still. The day is done, and sadly, we must wrap things to a close. But I hope you guys have enjoyed today's session. It's not going to be, obviously, as long a video as feared. I was a little bit terrified, but it's seeming... I think we're close to the hour mark, at least, but maybe we might be lucky, and we're less than an hour. Who knows? I mean, to be fair, I don't mind a video going over an hour, but obviously... whenever I make these bits of content, I'll be honest with you, part of me kind of thinks, I'm not likely to see many people viewing this video. But if you've stuck to this point, thank you so much for doing so. It really means a lot, seriously. It's great just to have some means to sort of vent my enjoyment of this game. And my enthusiasm can only go so far, but oh my fucking god, it keeps breaking new bounds. Like, every time I see this, my brain just immediately fills with dopamines, and I'm just like, I fucking love this game. And it just gives me hope, and I love it. And every time I see this, it's just brilliant. So thank you very much for sharing in my journey and indulging me of this particular fantasy. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode, where tomorrow... I fear we may be going into Origin Jump Works. I fear that may be the next day. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit fearful, and I'm beginning to have my fears confirmed. Yes, it will in fact be Origin Jump Works. But regardless of that, we will be enjoying ourselves in that. So I hope to see you in the next one, and I'll catch you there. This is Mr. Jaeger signing out. Have a good one, guys.